Okay, we can get started, Ethan.
Okay, all right. Well, hello and welcome to Schneps Media's City Council debate for District 1 for the June 27th Democratic primary. I'm Ethan Stark Miller, senior political reporter for AM New York Metro and Politics NY. All 51 city council seats are up for grabs this year, just 2 years after the last election cycle, due to last year's redistricting. Tonight, candidates seeking the Democratic nomination in the council's first district will debate. The district covers lower Manhattan neighborhoods, including Chinatown, parts of the Lower East Side, the Financial District, Soho, Battery Park City, and Tribeca. The area's current council member is Christopher Marte. He took the seat in 2021 after it was previously represented by Margaret Chin, who was term limited out that year. Unfortunately, Councilmember Marte couldn't join us tonight. Challenging Marte are policy expert Ursila Jung, nonprofit grant writer and founder Susan Lee, and teacher Pooi Stewart. I'll be serving as moderator for the debate. Also joining us this evening is Robert Posaricki, executive editor of AM New York. He'll be serving as co-moderator and timekeeper. Care to explain the ground rules for us, Rob?
I'd be happy to, Ethan. Thank you very much and welcome. Tonight's debate and all of our future debates will feature 2 rounds of questions. First round will include questions that we prepared, but you, the viewers, will be able to play a role in the second round. So if you have a question for any of the candidates that you wish to ask, please use the Q&A function. It's on the bottom of your screen. Just click on the Q&A menu and we will review the questions as they come in. And if we feel that any are appropriate, we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the debate. So without further ado, let's get started. Each candidate has 2 minutes for their opening statements. And we will begin with Ms. Jung.
Thank you, Schneps Media. It's great to be here tonight. And some of the local newspapers have been a big part of my life over the past 20 odd years. My name is Ursila Jung, and I am running for New York City Council. I am not a politician. I'm an immigrant, a mother, an education advocate, and a member of the community. And over the past few months, as I've walked up and down our district speaking to people, I have heard the same message over and over again. Our families want safe streets, they want high quality public schools for their children, and they want thriving neighborhoods which don't have shuttered storefronts. But most of them do not participate in local elections because they don't feel represented. Last year, 2 years ago, our city council election, fewer than 20% of people voted. They believe our public discourse is broken and our politics are dominated by extreme views. We need bold steps, and we need these to be undertaken in a collaborative manner. My supporters know that I'm not afraid of a fight or of hard work. I'm ready to put my experience in public policy to work and be your voice in City Hall. Thank you.
And thank you very much. And we will continue with the opening statements with Ms. Lee.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Schneps Media, for hosting this candidate forum. My name is Susan Lee, candidate for City Council District 1 in Lower Manhattan. I came to the United States at the age of 6 with my parents with nothing but 2 suitcases in their hand. They were low wage workers who worked long hours to provide for my family, for my brother and I. My grandmother was our primary caregiver because they couldn't afford a babysitter. So I grew up in a multi-generational household where they instilled in me the value of education and the value of hard work and dedication, and also giving back to the community that had nurtured me and had provided for me. I have been a nonprofit executive for almost 20 years. I founded several nonprofits, such as Know Me Network, which is an anti-human trafficking agency. We work on life development skills. I founded also the Alliance for Community Preservation and Betterment to help revitalize Chinatown. And most recently, I founded SDR Park Alliance, which we received $3.5 million from the Governor Hochul's Downtown Revitalization Initiative. I am a proponent of community policing, of meeting students where they're at with their education. I am also a proponent for addressing quality of life issues, for addressing the affordability housing crisis. And also, most importantly, I believe in a strong constituent service. I started my work interning for Councilmember Ronnie Eldridge, and she instilled in me the value of constituent services. So as the next council member, that is what I hope to do, is provide robust community constituent services, and also to provide oversight to the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stewart, please take us home. Oh, you're muted.
Muted.
Yes. Can you hear me better?
You now.
Okay, yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pooi Stewart. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And thank you for opening this forum for all the candidates. I'm the candidate for the City Council in District 1 in Lower Manhattan. And I'm a public school teacher in New York City schools with a master in special education. I'm married to an African-American man who is train operator with the MTA. I have 3 beautiful children. They are 12, 11, and 8 years old. I'm proud that Margaret Chin was the council member in Lower Manhattan for 12 years. But you know, we all candidates always fighting for our community. So I'm concerned about the directions in which our city is going right now, especially the public safety. It is still a big problem, especially the commissioners that just resigned recently. So it's kind of a little heartbroken for all of us. And the New York City has become more and more unaffordable. I know what it is like a struggle. I worked forever without a visa. First as a cashier of a restaurant, then as a waitress, then as a manager. So I worked many late nights to earn many late nights to earn my bachelor degree and then my master's in special education. So now in our city and here in Lower Manhattan, I see many people struggling to make ends meet. In this era of polarized politics, women like me need to step up and run. I believe that I can make a difference. I came to the United States as a dreamer like the rest of the people nowadays. I was forced to travel up and down and East Coast to seek work in the restaurants to get paid in cash and pay my bills. So Chinatown was the first place I came after my parents sent me here to the United States. Ever since COVID, Lower Manhattan has struggled a lot.
Okay, time. All right, thank you very much. Okay, with the opening statements out of the way, we will go into the questions which Ethan will ask of the candidates. In this round, each candidate will have 2 minutes for their answer, and their opponents will have time to make a rebuttal. There will be several direct questions at the start. Those those who are asked the question directly will be given 2 minutes to respond, and their opponents will be given 1 minute to respond with a rebuttal. There are also mostly open questions coming up, and each candidate will have 2 minutes of time to make an answer. I'll be keeping track of the time as we go. As you heard, the alarm went off when we hit the time limit. So candidates are expected to wrap up their statement once they hear the alarm, if they haven't done before then. We will maintain alphabetical order. So the first question, Ms. Lee will begin, followed by Ms. Stewart and Ms. Jung. Then the second question will be Ms. Stewart, followed by everybody else, and so on and so forth. And just as a reminder again to everybody at home, City Council Member Marte did not agree to participate in this debate. He is not here tonight, unfortunately, but we're really grateful to have the 3 candidates here who have dedicated their time to join us. So Ethan, let's kick off the question round.
Okay. So first question will be for both Ms. Jung and Ms. Lee. In a recent TV interview, Ms. Jung, you said you're going to rank Ms. Lee second on your ranked choice ballot. And Ms. Lee, in the same report, you said the 2 of you were in discussions about ranking each other second. Are you both still interested in teaming up? And what do you think that strategy will help achieve for this election? So we'll start with Ms. Lee.
Thank you for that question, Ethan. Yes, we are going to roll out some interesting news in the coming days. And I wouldn't call it teaming up because we want to promote ranked choice voting. That is something that various good governance organizations had supported, such as Citizens Union, New Majority, which endorsed both of us on Ranked Choice 1 and Ursila 2. And I think that, it gives the city more option in who they want to vote for. But also the beauty of ranked choice voting takes away the negative politics that is behind a winner take all. I think that it is something that we should promote. Now, the thing is, I wish the Board of Elections did a better job promoting it, because I think people are not aware of it still, even though it was first utilized in 2021. And in 2021, another candidate and I also endorsed each other as second choice. So I think that is, if we agree on many of the issues, there's no reason why we shouldn't rank the other person second choice. So when I go to the ballot box, hopefully, I want to do early voting, but if I don't make it to early voting on primary day, I will rank Ursila Jung second choice.
All right, and Ms. Young, your answer?
Well, I think Susan covered most of the ground. I'm a strong supporter of ranked choice voting because I believe it gives people a better option to reflect their views of who their candidates are in order of preference. I think it saves the Election Commission a lot of money in case of a runoff. And of course, it prevents negative electioneering to some extent. We have still seen some in our district. We've seen posters getting down and defaced, so it's not been eliminated, unfortunately. But I do think that if a candidate is closely aligned with you, as Susan is with me, we're both moderate, common sense candidates. I do believe that it's beneficial to voters to let them know that, these are the things we are aligned on and these are the things we differ on. I think that that is a positive outcome for everybody, and most of all, the taxpayer.
Okay, and Ms. Stewart, do you have a rebuttal?
Rebuttal, I think that the ranked choice voting, it's a good choices for all the community to come outside to vote. But I did a research onto it. Usually it's ranked choice voting. It only happens every 5 years. That would be a lot of people will be coming outside to vote. But at this point, there are less people coming outside to vote for reasons. And I think I will wish all the best to all of us. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, Ms. Stewart, the next question will be for you. Last year, you ran an assembly primary in the Bronx, in the West Bronx, and only recently moved to the district. You also told people in a recent TV interview to vote for Christopher Marte. So we're wondering, why are you competing for this seat exactly if you're encouraging voters to vote for one of your opponents?
Well, I could say that, as becoming a teacher, so we always give second chances to everyone. That is the plus. So even if I'm becoming a teacher, like I'm a teacher right now. Currently, I'm a teacher. I'm a 7 to 12 licensed special education teacher. You're always encouraging your own students not to do this and not to do that, encouraging them for positive reinforcement. So I was thinking about it in the beginning last year. I heard a lot of negativity about Christopher, but I rethink that why would I have to hear something about Chris? Negative, negative thinking or negative people thought about him. But I recheck it myself, opening my eyes and opening my ears, rethink it again and look at what he's doing for our community, especially our District 1. He wasn't that bad at all. Everybody makes the mistake. Nobody is perfect. I do make a lot of mistakes, but eventually I learn myself that not to do it again. So I think that why I'm running from one place to the next place is a good question. I personally came to America. I step in is Chinatown, which is Lower Manhattan. So I feel like that my hometown. And then it's just because I'm married, like I say, African American, a Jamaican. So eventually that Asian culture said, whoever you marry, you have to follow the culture, you have to follow the state, you have to follow the place. So therefore I moved to the Bronx. It's just because I married an African American. So therefore that, I try to see that because I was a community member in the Bronx, yes. So I'm taking a lot of experiencing and I'm working a lot with the elected officials in the Bronx. So I found that, I should make myself comfortable, make myself, many directions, many angles, see,
Time.
to help out.
Time. Thank you.
Okay,
You're
thank
welcome.
you. Ms. Jung?
Minute rebuttal. Ms. Young, a rebuttal for 1 minute.
Sorry, sure, thank you. Pooi, that's interesting. I love that you're willing to give people second chances, because who doesn't love a second chance? But your policies are not aligned with Chris's at all. You support the police. He says defund the police. I mean, there is not much alignment. So that's a very interesting take.
Okay. And Ms. Lee.
Yes, so when I first met Pooi, we were at a rally against Intro 632, which the current council member is a signature to, a sponsor to. And we had a discussion, and Pooi had expressed to me that she did not agree with Chris on that issue. And like Ursula just said, Pooi doesn't agree with Chris on, his stance on defund the police. So it baffles me that Pooi would say, would encourage people to vote for Chris instead of Ursula and I as, a candidate, because Poi's policies are aligned with Ursula and I. So it just begs the question, what is the thinking behind her telling people to vote for the incumbent? So it's interesting. And, I have not been in discussion with Pooi since Intro 632 rally. But I would love to hear why, if, she
Please. Sorry.
wants people to vote for Chris. Thank
Fine.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
All
can I
right.
just add one quick thing, since I didn't take all my time? It's very quick. I just want to add that we made a very broad statement about in Asian culture, we follow our husbands. And I'm broadly Asian, I'm South Asian. My husband and I have an interreligious marriage, and I don't believe you need to follow your husband. I believe you can work together, you can blend, you can do anything you want. So I just want to put it out there as an Asian woman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We can move to the next question, Ethan.
All right, yeah, so the next question is on the subject of public safety. So especially with the rise of hate crimes against the Asian American community, that's been highlighted a lot in this district as one of the foremost issues. What would each of you do as a council member to bolster public safety in the area and also combat anti-Asian hate crimes? And we'll start with Ms. Young.
Thank you. So I think people who rallied for change in the police in 2020 are right. We need change, but it's reform, not retrenchment. We need to ensure mutual respect between communities and police officers. And there is a perception which has continued even as we've seen some real numbers come down. People still feel unsafe. I walk on the streets, I feel unsafe. My son takes the subway to school, I hate it. But the police must be supplemented and supported with social services. We must have mental health services. We must have homeless services. We have to have increased availability of affordable housing so that we take care of our homeless crisis, which is blowing up pretty much on a daily basis. And this is New York City. I'm an immigrant, I'm a minority as a Muslim. I mean, there should be no place in New York City for any sort of racism or hate crimes. And I definitely believe people should get second chances, but third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances. I mean, we have a problem with recidivism, and we cannot have people continually cycling through the system. It's demoralizing to the police, and it gives everyone a perception of heightened danger. People are scared. So I think we need to address this very firmly and immediately. We need to be very clear that we support our police officers, and we also support ongoing training for them so that they're more culturally sensitive and more attuned to what the community needs.
Okay, thank you. And next we'll go to Ms. Lee.
I'm a proponent of community policing. I think that police officers should be in the community so that when you see a police officer, it's not when something bad happens. So it offers a sense of accountability and transparency. Now, you just mentioned anti-Asian hate crime. You know, in a report recently, Stefan Kim noted that it's still on the rise. And I can't hide my Asianness. And like Ursula just said, you know, I still look over my shoulders when I walk down the streets. Now, what I think is really important is we need to increase funding for the for the hate crime task force, because there's all kinds of crime, not just anti-Asian hate crime. I think that we really need to work on educating the public. A lot of times, Chinese Americans, Asian Americans don't report. And so I think the numbers skewed. And I think a lot of times the other hate crimes are not reported. So we need to outreach and encourage our community to report all types of hate crime in the district.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stewart.
Yes, talking about the public safety, there are many angles that we have to look at it. Like, you know, I remember that I was riding on the subway. I wasn't safe with my 3 kids, like just came back from the Broadway show. So I found out that I was on the train with the rest of the people, just get up from different directions, from different train stations. So one of the drunky guy was sitting on the bench, not on the bench, on the car, but, you know, sitting around it with people sitting next to them. But, you know, I was all the way in the back that, you know, very close with the double door closing. So all of a sudden, the next, you know, mentally ill persons that just walk up and told the next guy saying that, you know, you are ugly. You need to open your mouth and say something. I'm stepping on your feet. So, you know, all of a sudden they had a fight, and then one of the guy that who speak out, he just got a punch from the other guy that who do not speak up. So therefore they had a fight in the car, and I was all the way in the back with my children. So it's very unsafe. I think public safety is still very important, and it's very wider in our city. So increasing police officer for the trains and for the streets, it is also, you know, it's a numbers of count that how the commissioner is going to be putting at it. For community, you know, community has to attend a lot of those meetings at the precinct. It's only happening once a month. And it also have to be announced from the community boards. The community boards should be receiving, should have communications with the precinct and with the inspector or with the community affairs. That should be announcing at the community boards and tell you that when it's the council meetings, that which is very important. You know, I have realized that it is true that we have to give a person second chance. Nobody knows everything like this. I don't think so that, you know, I don't think so. This panel here, everyone knows that when is the council meeting at precinct 5. Nobody knows when is the council meeting of precinct 1. Nobody knows when is the council meeting for PSA 4. I must assure you that, because, you know, that's the only way to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Rob, you wanted to mention something first, though?
Yes, just a reminder for everybody again, if you have a question for any of the candidates, feel free to file it in the Q&A section. You can find it in the little thought bubbles at the bottom of the screen here. Please don't raise your hand. Just if you need to ask a question of the candidates, please use the Q&A function. And Ethan, back to you.
All right, so staying on the theme of public safety, bombshell news broke last night that Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell is resigning at the end of the month. amid reports of a falling out between her and the mayor. What was your take on Sewell's resignation, and what qualities do you hope her successor will bring to the job? We'll start with Ms. Lee for this one.
I am actually really saddened that she resigned. To see someone, a woman of color, lead the largest police force in the United States was something that I celebrated. I think that when you see someone that looks like you in a position of power, it sets up a role model for young women. And I think that that's why I'm running for office, because I want to inspire young women to reach for what they believe. And so for her to resign is actually a really sad moment for us. What I look for in someone that's going to step into her role is someone, and I hope the mayor hears this, is someone with autonomy. Because my understanding is, and there's speculation that she resigned because of the disciplinary action that she recommended. And so I just want to say that I support the Civilian Complaint Review Board and their decision. And so if the commissioner is acting based on the recommendation of the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is an independent review board, the mayor shouldn't intervene, and I am sad to hear that, the rumors, and I hope that the person that replaces her will have the autonomy to do what he or she thinks it's right for the NYPD.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stewart?
Yes, it is a very sad that the commissioner resigned, and it's also something got to do with the overall of the police officers, because in her role for 1.5 years, there are a few officers, die, and there are many chaos going on, no matter they're in District 1 or any other districts. And I feel like, there are more crime pops up like every single day, going back to, assembly, going back to senators, going back to the Albany, going back to the congressional, and all tied together, that they are the ones that creating the laws. They are the ones that, creating the laws, and the police officer has to be follow those laws. Like the teachers, for example, who creating the laws in the teachers field? Hey, the principal, right? And then who following the rules in the classroom? The students have to follow, and who creating the regulations? The teachers. So going back to commissioner, I think it is like, should give her another chance to come back and work again and get a better understanding between the mayor, because the mayor, of course, he's the one that, appointed her. So he's supposed to be understanding her even better. But out of sudden 1.5 years that she's just disappeared. I mean, she's not disappeared, she's just resigning. It's quite a shock to all the community. So it shocked to me too. So I think that, even though she left, I think that should have a person that should be replacing her and should be, taking care of the NYPD officers and the rest of the officers. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Young, your answer.
When Mayor Adams appointed Commissioner Sewell, I remember he said in a press conference that he was appointing a woman for her EQ. And I thought it was an amazing statement to make. And of course, representation matters. Appointing a Black woman is something that's incredible as providing a role model for young girls. And I don't mean just Black girls. I mean for everybody to see that you are promoted and given appointments on the basis of your qualifications. She was a unique person. She barely gave personal interviews during her time in office. She did her job well. I think she was voted by the Police Benevolent Association, the Person of the Year. I think I read that in 2022, which is the first time that it's been given to a sitting commissioner. So the policemen and the officers obviously held her in high regard. They thought she was, she cared about, cops on the beat. She thought that they did work, that she did work to improve their lives and working conditions. And I thought she conducted herself with grace and dignity befitting the office. So I'm sad to see her go, and I hope that whoever is appointed in her stead holds themselves to the same high standards of personal integrity that she held herself.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next question. So the jail that is slated to be built on the site of the Manhattan Detention Center, which is in the process of being torn down, has gotten a lot of pushback from the community over the past few years. While the council passed a law in 2019 mandating Rikers be closed and replaced with 4 borough-based jails by 2027, including the Chinatown jail, plans around what those facilities could look like may still change. As a council member, where would each of you stand on the Chinatown jail, and what actions would you take to make sure it fits best into the community? We'll start with Ms. Stewart on this one.
Yes, the first thing that, talking about the Chinatown jail, I think should be built one over there. You know why? Because I was thinking, all day long from last week until this week, I went to a few of the forum and I maybe said something was wrong, but I don't think so. I did. So why? It is just because that crimes are happening everywhere, no matter they're in District 1, no matter they're in District 2, no matter in District 3. For example, if I'm a criminal and I say that I need to, I commit a crime pretty heavy, where should I be in jail? Should I be in jail in Manhattan, or should I be in jail in Queens, or should I be in jail in Brooklyn? So that I'm thinking about it. Well, I live in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. I should be in jail in Manhattan, right? So that's how I think about it. Because you know why? Because if you're jail in Manhattan, you have some other relatives be able to come and visit you. They don't have to travel all over the place and take this bus and this train and come and visit you. It's very unfair to all those people. So I would think that building a jail right there in Lower Manhattan should give an opportunity for other people to come and visit, and also to let people know that people commit a crime in Manhattan should be in Manhattan, should be going to the court place in Manhattan, should be, serve your time in Manhattan. Something like, have to be convenience for the people that who committed crime in Manhattan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Young?
Thank you. So I think community input is always important, especially when it is a huge decision like putting a borough-based jail in a community. And we see these sort of decisions being taken in communities of color all the time without input. I mean, we're not seeing a borough-based jail on the Upper West Side or the Upper East Side, right? I think that unfortunately, because we in our district have had a dysfunctional relationship between our leadership and City Hall, the community was not even notified when the demolition finally began. They thought that there had been a stay order. And perhaps taking a collaborative tone would have been more helpful. Perhaps it's still possible. And I realize that Rikers in its current form is an issue. You cannot confuse a heart attack and a fractured skull. These are the kind of reports we keep getting out of Rikers. They need reform. Deaths have gone up, even as the population has gone down. This is unacceptable. They clearly need a watchdog agency with real teeth. But you also can't speak out of both sides of your mouth like our current leadership in our district has done. You can't say you want Rikers to close, but you don't want a mega jail. We're always going to have some people who need incarceration, no matter what that number. So, our district is in this weird situation where we have not had this collaborative relationship. But I do think that at this point, if construction continues, we still need to immediately start focusing on mitigation efforts, the environmental impacts, the compensating residents and businesses in the immediate vicinity of the jail to ensure that there's a tight timeline and it's not drawn out. We have to advocate for increased security in the area. And the city must appoint a live point person instead of saying, call 311 with a complaint, so that a person in the area can always call and get an answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Miss Lee, what's your answer?
I was one of the first to be arrested protesting against the borough-based jail here in Chinatown. I was also working with community leaders on the adaptive reuse plan. And, unfortunately, that plan, from the mayor's office said that it's not feasible. And so what I think would be really important is part of the discussion with the mayor's office, if we have a good relationship with the mayor's office, is to perhaps discuss building a jail that's the existing footprint, upgrade the existing borough-based jail. But I want to say that Rikers Island needs to reform. We should keep Rikers open. Commissioner Molina said earlier this year that the jail population, the inmate population will reach 7,000 by 2024. And the four borough-based jail can only hold 3,300. So the surplus of inmates, where are we going to house them? I think one of the things that we can do is look at the adjudication process. Coming out of the heels of COVID, we know that video conferencing works. So maybe we should have video hearings, conference hearings, so that those that are waiting for pretrial hearing are not sitting at Rikers for 8 months, for years. I think that might help speed up the process. But also, when we talk about what the community needs, is there's been a false promise that the jail is going to be stopped. And I walk by the jail every day on my way to my office, and more of the structure is being taken down. But there has been zero communication from our current council member to the community about what's going on. I have to rely on the Chinatown Facebook group to get my information.
Thank you.
That is not acceptable.
Thank you. Okay. We are going to move on to the lightning round of the debate. Second round, this will consist of questions we received from the chat, anonymously or from people who have signed up. Each of the candidates will provide a 1-minute response to each question, and the other candidates will each have a minute to rebut. Ethan, you want to start with question number 1? They're all anonymous. We're just going to keep them anonymous for right now.
Okay. 1 second. So the first question is, what are each of your plans regarding the retiree healthcare plan for municipal workers? As many of you know, the mayor has moved to shift municipal retirees to Medicare Advantage plans instead of the traditional Medicare that they've been on. It's a done deal for the most part, but there is pending legal action against it. So yeah, what would each of you do in your role as a council member about that?
Okay, 1 minute, and we'll start with Ms. Stewart, followed by Ms. Young and Ms. Lee.
Yes, I would say that, yes. I would say that for the retirees, I already did answer in the Q&A, but I also got affected too, because I do have 401k and I do have others retirements too. I got affected too. I couldn't retire because I got started 2007 since I'm working for DOE. And I started from low on the bottom, like school aides and then paraprofessionals and then sub teachers and then teachers. I worked from the bottom. I got retirees too. And I'm supposed to be retiring this year. And I couldn't retire because it really not benefiting me. For me to fight for the retirees, I would say that go for all the leaderships and have to stand up together and fight together, and making sure that the mayor open their eyes, open his eyes and open his ears and listening that retirees really get affected. And we are very low pay. And right now we are struggling because we are not in a good economy at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
So I think it's fairly unacceptable, though I understand that the city is in a huge budget crunch, and the mayor said that the plan saves over $500 million. But I think that we need to treat our retirees in a fair, just, and equitable manner. And I believe that this plan levies a premium on retirees who want to opt out and stay on traditional Medicare. And I think the court said that the penalty violated a local law which requires the city to premium-free coverage for life, which is what they expected when they signed on to these jobs, and which is how they planned their retired lives. I also think that the new plan is fairly onerous because it requires pre-clearances and approvals and pre-authorizations, and dilutes coverage in some way, which is unacceptable, especially for our older people.
Time. All right. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Lee.
So, you know, the plan itself, I've spoken to a lot of retirees during the campaign, and it is, you know, a bait and switch. They signed up for something, they worked with the city in various capacity, and now in their retirement age, some of them already have existing relationships with their doctors that might not accept the plan. Some of the concerns that I think we need to address is some of the retirees don't live in New York anymore. So if they live in, you know, let's say Florida, their doctor might not take their insurance. They might have to drive long hours, long time to get to their doctor that takes their plan. And I think that that's something that we really need to be mindful of, how this plan, this new plan, affects retirees. Now, I know that, you know, we're in a budget crunch, we need to save money, but I think that with my background in public finance, we can look at oversight and tweak and see where we can save money so that our retirees can benefit from their retirement age.
Thank you. Okay. All right, question 2.
Thank you all. Yeah, so for our next question, so as you all know, the current council member is part of the Progressive Caucus. Would each of you join the Progressive Caucus if you were elected to the city council?
I can go first. No.
Starting with Ms. Young on this one.
Okay, no, I would not. I do not agree with how strictly they police their members, and I definitely do not agree with their main premise of defunding the police.
Okay. Ms. Lee?
I wouldn't join the Progressive Caucus because of the defund the police pledge. 10 members actually withdrew from the committee, but our current council member decided to stay over that specific clause. And what happened was a local reporter wrote about his staying at the caucus, and she got backlash from his senior advisor who left misogynistic voicemails on her phone. That's unacceptable. That's press intimidation, press suppression. And I am for, you know, advocating for workplace protection. This journalist provide information to our community. Our community gets most of our information from ethnic media, and the action by the current council member's office results, you know, equates to press suppression, and there's no place for that. So I am for full transparency, and I would not join the Progressive Caucus. Thank you.
And
All right.
Oh, it's my turn. Yes, for Progressive Caucus, I wouldn't answer for this question. So I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, what was that? Could you just clarify?
she's not going to answer the question.
You're not going to
correct?
answer the question. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then number 3 is major crimes are up in the 5th precinct year to date. This is significantly higher than the rest of the city. How do you plan to address this?
Ms. Lee, you want to start?
Absolutely. I am, like I said earlier, a proponent of community policing. I think that having police officers walk the beat will deter crime. What I see right now is we need to recruit more police officers. We've lost a significant amount of police officers due to retirement, but also because we have a low morale within the police force. I think we need to bring new officers on board. And that will help us, because right now police officers are working double, triple shifts overtime, and I'm worried about their physical health, burnout. So to combat that, I think we need to hire more police officers.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stewart.
What was your question again? I'm sorry, because I keep on, doing my Q&A.
It was about whether, Ethan, will you want to repeat that real quick?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the question is that major crimes are up in the 5th precinct year to date, and this is significantly higher than the rest of the city. So how would you plan to address this as a council member?
Oh, okay. For the 5th precinct, that, I really say that, and encouraging the community or the people who live around the area who have a high crime. And those people that really have to attend the community council meeting, which is only happening once a month, and which I went to the community council meeting at the 5th precinct once a month, and not many people attending. It's only the people who are living nearby who attended, that don't have much crime going on. But the people, like for example, on Madison Street, it's also covered by the 5th precinct. And crime like this have to speak to the inspector, have to speak to the community affairs, and have them to bring up a lot of events coming up, and have them to notice that we care is the community. So therefore, high crime is something got to do engagement, the community engagement, more events, engagement. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Young.
So I said earlier that I believe in supporting the NYPD, and I mean that we need to do this in principle and in our actions. Like we said, attending local precinct meetings. That's a simple thing which I've been doing. I actually have never seen our current council member except the past 3 weeks, which was, I believe, a photo op, because he clearly doesn't support the police, right? He has said that, he has signed that as recently as January or February this year. And I do think that increased police presence helps with crime. It deters people from committing especially petty crimes. And I think that this wave of crime, aside from affecting bystanders and people, has had a huge impact on local businesses, which have to take this into account. And it's unacceptable. I mean, if Target and CVS have started locking up things, what happens to your little mom and pop shop? It's just simply not a tenable situation that we allow this spree to continue.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we will move on to the closing statements. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak. Since Ms. Stewart was the second person to answer the last question, you'll be the first to given the chance to provide a closing statement, followed by Ms. Young and Ms. Lee. So Ms. Stewart, go ahead.
Yes, I wish that everyone be able to come outside on June 27th to vote. And also there is an early vote this coming week. So therefore, I wish that people will just, listen and make their own decisions, and really open their eyes and open their ears and listen, and going around the community and see how our each candidates and the incumbents working on our community. And I wish you all the best for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go now to Ms. Jung.
Thank you. Thank you for having us again. I really appreciate this chance to share our opinions and our stances and our platforms with members of the community. Thank you to everybody in the public who's attending. I appreciate your participation, because I know that we don't have enough engaged voters. And I want to reiterate that I believe our families deserve safe streets. We deserve rents we can afford. Our children deserve high quality public schools. Our local small businesses need support to open, grow, and thrive. These are really complex problems, and we need bold actions. And we need to do it in a collaborative manner. Being combative with City Hall is not helpful. I want us to know that change only begins when people like us choose to make our voices heard. And I'm running because we need to work together. And I hope you will give me the chance to be your public servant. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lee.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I just want to note that our current council member is not present. He has not been present in the last 3 events that he was invited to. I have attended every single forum I was asked to, even if it was at events that were uncomfortable. I answered tough questions, and that is the type of leader I will be. I am not afraid to answer tough questions. I am not afraid to work with others to make sure that the community is the one that will benefit. I am not going to go rah, just for the sake of making noise. I will make noise when I need to, but I will work with other community members behind the scene if I have to, just to make sure that the community benefits. I will prioritize public safety, address quality of life issues, make education opportunity available for all. I will also address our seniors who cannot retire in place. I want to make sure that they can retire in the community they help build. And most importantly, I will provide robust constituent services, because at the end of the day, I am here to serve you, our constituents. So I hope I will earn your vote in the early election, June 17th, and also on primary day, June 27th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much, Mrs. Jung, Mrs. Lee, and Ms. Stewart. That concludes our Democratic primary debate for the first City Council district. Remember that early voting in the primary begins on Saturday, June 17th, and primary day itself is Tuesday, June 27th. Visit the Board of Elections website at vote.nyc to find your early polling site and your local polling place. Every election, large or small, is an important one, so please vote. Thanks for watching and have a great evening.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you again.
You again.